we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other on our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am so glad that you have joined us this morning. Welcome to those of you in the room, and welcome also to those of you joining us via our live stream. Before we begin our worship service, I have just a few announcements to share. A reminder that next Sunday we will be celebrating the life of a longtime member, Anne McAdam. Her memorial service will be at 1:30, and it will also be live streamed on our YouTube channel. And if you can serve as an usher at that service, please do let me know. That same weekend, our beloved Dana Noble's home will be open for an estate sale. Perhaps you would like a memento to remember him by. If you knew him, then you know that his house was full of treasures, and I mean full. You can also meet his nephew Charlie if you stop by at 607 Commercial Street. On Thursday, May 26th at 5 o'clock, Racial Justice Provincetown will be hosting minister and author Kristen Harper, reading from her book, The Darkness Divine, here at the Meeting House. After the reading, there will be a time for a Q&A. Kristen's book reimagines how we use the language of dark and light. It's full of beautiful poetry and also a loving challenge to her Unitarian Universalist faith about how we can be more welcoming and inclusive to people of color. I really hope you can join us. And now let's take a moment to affirm our community's covenant. I invite you to repeat each line after me. Love is the spirit of this meeting house.
Love is the spirit of this meeting house.
This is our great covenant.
This is our great covenant.
To dwell together in peace.
To dwell together in peace.
To seek the truth in love.
To seek the truth in love.
And to help one another.
And to help one another.
At this time, I invite Bruce to light our chalice for us. As we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you watching from home to light a candle wherever you are. In that way, we can feel connected even while we are apart.
Deepening the Spirit by Cynthia Landrum. We light this chalice, the beacon that calls us to love, to justice, to a deepening of the Spirit.
Thank you. Please join me now in a spirit of meditation and prayer. If you have a joy or a sorrow on your heart this morning, you are welcome to light a silent candle during the prayer or at any time during the service at the table to the right of the pulpit. And there is a journal there to record your thoughts and prayers. Today I know that we are all saying a prayer for 1 million lives lost to COVID-19 in this country. That was a very painful milestone to reach this week. We also hold in our hearts the victims of yesterday's shooting in Buffalo. We are reminded yet again how important racial justice work is to counter the messages of hate in this world. Tomorrow I will be heading off to my minister's study group for 3 days. And this is the first time that we'll be gathering without our beloved friend and colleague, Ken Sawyer, who died a few weeks ago. He served our UU congregation in Wayland, Massachusetts for 38 years. This morning I'd like to offer his words as our prayer. To the blessings of this season, may our senses be alert and our hearts take heed. For in a busy and sometimes tragic world, beauty is often the comfort most sure. To the blessings of warm, accepting human relationship, may our hearts be open and our minds take heed. For in a lonely and sometimes frightening world, friendship is often the support that upholds us. To the blessings of high ideals and noble aspirations, may our minds be open and our hands take heed. For in a troubled and sometimes dangerous world, justice is often the hope that sustains us. Forgiving each other and ourselves for all we do not sense, for the love we do not share, for the acts of justice we avoid. Let us treasure the parts of ourselves that do respond. Blessed be the life that comforts, sustains, and upholds us. And blessed be we who do now and then awaken to its grace. Amen.
Today's reading is A Letter to Our Better Angels by Sean Parker Dennison. Dear angels, it seems important to begin by making it clear that we're not talking about celestial winged beings. This letter is addressed instead to our better selves, the people we hope we will be when necessary. We might also note that we more often excel at our self-appointed role as advocate for the devil, a requisite position that is also, if you ask us, not literal, but theoretical, and therefore without consequence. We are writing to let you know that we feel your presence insufficient and unpredictable, and when we inquire about how to make you more dependable, we're offended by and opposed to the level of accountability required. We're hoping to make arrangements for an increase in the percentage of goodness and presence of admirable qualities in ourselves and in others, especially in others. We respectfully request that this come easily and with immediate delivery, a dependable warranty, and at no extra cost. We would be even more pleased if it could be arranged for us to become better people without needing to change, or to consider any needs but our own. It would also please us if our status as increasingly good could be noted in some way. Perhaps a cookie, a badge, a halo, so long as it's comfortable. We hope you will consider our request as soon as humanly possible, not in angel time. We have already waited a long time, unaware of the seriousness of the situation, the disrepair to our reputation. Please expedite our request. We have only just noticed the world is ending. Sincerely.
Thank you. Now is the time in our service where we take a collection for the ongoing support of this meeting house and our shared ministry. As we enjoy a musical reflection, we welcome your donations here in the sanctuary or online through PayPal or Venmo. You can find that information on our website, uumh.org. On and off site, your offerings will now be gratefully received.
These days I'm missing hymns. So today I'm going to sing hymn number 315, which is in the Singing the Journey. And if you want to follow along, of course you can't sing, but in your mind. This old world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, Viktor Frankl says. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. If you wrote this quote as a formula, Brené Brown says, it might look like this: S, parentheses, R. Last week, Brené celebrated 26 years of sobriety. Before she got sober, she says, there was no space at all between the S and the R. Something happened, someone did or said something, and she'd come out swinging or fearing or worrying or apologizing. She responded in a way that led to more stacked stimuli and responses. There was very little growth and very little freedom. Over the past 26 years, she's learned to pry open that space. Breath, curiosity, better sleep, working out, intention, therapy, prayer. She has learned to practice what Buddhists call the sacred pause. Dear better angels, please help us access the sacred pause. We want to be better people, not just for the world, but for our own sakes. It's torturous to be so triggered all the time, to have no space at all between the stimulus and response, to carry around all of our emotional baggage as if we had a Eurorail pass for the summer. And we are mostly punishing ourselves, aren't we, with these emotional patterns? Or are they ruts at this point? But our family and friends don't get off unscathed. Our actions affect them too. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to point out a few ingrained patterns that could do with a little shifting. But can people really change? I mean, once they are out of their 20s, or maybe even their 30s, can people really shift their emotional patterns and ruts? Of course they can. I don't think churches would even be in business if we didn't believe people could change. Nor would therapists, health clubs, AA meetings, or Toastmasters. People can change. That's 100% true. But here's the tricky part. You can't change other people. If you think you're going to get someone else to change, that is 100% not going to happen. People can change, but you can only change yourself. Rats. Now that we've settled what a limited scope we have to work within, aka ourselves, let's talk about what tools we have at our disposal. Those of you in the recovery community might recognize this acronym that can help us big time on our quest to be better people, on our quest to find that sacred pause. HALT. It means stop, obviously, but its component parts remind us to ask ourselves, before responding to the stimulus, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Those are the states of being that continuously trip us up. And what we want to learn is not how to avoid them exactly, but how to be aware of them and how to tend to them. Also, how not to have outsized reactions when we are in the depths of them. Let's start with hunger. Think about how it feels to be hungry. You might get a rumbling in your tummy, but you also feel it in other places body, don't you? When your blood sugar gets low, you may get a headache, become irritable, or find it difficult to concentrate. These effects are the result of the brain releasing certain chemicals that tell your body it needs something, but that actually interfere with the production of serotonin, a feel-good chemical. We might jokingly say that we are hangry, but this is a real thing. Hunger can put the body in an imbalanced state that leads us to mood swings, affects our ability to make decisions, and lowers our impulse control. When we get physically hungry, it's time to refuel our brain and body with nutritious food. I learned this about toddlers way before I learned it about myself. It's a lot easier to prevent a tantrum than to come back from one. So plan ahead. Have snacks available. And eat good meals. I read this book once called Women, Food, and God by Janine Roth. And she said, don't fuel your body in the same place that you fuel your car. That's also really good advice. Next is anger. Anger is a normal, healthy emotion to experience. I would never tell you not to get angry. I think that's a really dangerous thing to teach, especially to women. The important thing is to halt and take time to understand what is causing your anger and to have some choices around how you express it. That's a good way to stop it from squishing out the sides. Do you know what I mean? If we just have the feeling of anger and haven't really identified the source, we tend to act out at whoever is around us. And oftentimes that ends up being our closest friends and loved ones. Oops. So what is the real source of our anger? Not just the last little annoyance that caused us to finally react. Is it a situation? A person? Is it ourselves? Is it a one-time thing or an ongoing one? Is it something that's in our control or outside of it? These are good questions to ask. If what is angering us is outside of our control or we aren't ready to confront the issue, we can try to express ourselves in other ways. Exercising, punching a pillow, or even cleaning are active ways to get rid of excess energy that anger brings. You will probably never find me anger cleaning, by the way. It's just not my go-to. Creative projects like painting or singing or writing are other ways for us to dispel our anger. Meditation or prayer can help to turn down the heat if that is helpful. Finally, talking to someone who isn't involved in the situation can be really beneficial to thinking through our anger. Therapist Cindy Turner offers this advice: when in the midst of anger, it is generally a good idea to wait at least 2 hours before touching technology. In other words, no texting, tweeting, emailing, or posting. You don't want to impulsively put something out into cyberspace that you may regret later when you are in a more rational state. Regardless of how we expel our anger, what's important is to acknowledge it and reflect upon its causes so that we can release it in constructive, not destructive ways. Immediately after writing my first draft of this sermon, I was challenged to put this into practice, by the way, when I went to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription medical supply for a friend. The prescription was meant to be sent to Provincetown for another friend to pick up, but it was accidentally sent to Wellfleet, so they asked me to get it. I was planning to pop in, grab it on my way to visit them. I would be helpful, they would be grateful. It was so straightforward. But not so at the pharmacy. The prescription wasn't in Wellfleet. It had been sent back to Provincetown, the pharmacist said. "Oh, but since I'm here, can you just fill it here?" I asked. "No, because it requires Medicare Part B, and we don't accept Medicare Part B in Wellfleet, but they do in Provincetown." "But you're a pharmacy," I said. "Why wouldn't you accept Part B?" "Because we're small," she said. "But you're both part of Outer Cape Health," I began to argue. But at this time, I began to have what I can only describe as an out-of-body experience. Except that it was my better angel who came out of my body and stood next to me. She wanted to have a conversation. I told her it was an inconvenient time. I was giving the pharmacist a piece of my mind. But she didn't listen. "Have you had lunch?" she asked me. "No, I had a late breakfast." "Oh, I see where you're going with this." "Are you angry?" she asked me. "Captain Obvious," I said. "Yes, I'm angry. This is stupid." "Are you angry with her?" she asked, pointing at the pharmacist behind the counter. "No." "Who are you angry with?" she pushed. "The system," I grumbled. "And will it help to change the system if you are rude to the pharmacist?" She can be a little condescending. "No," I admitted. "The pharmacist probably already knows she works for a stupid system. It is not her fault." It was time to leave the pharmacy. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Loneliness is a tricky one. It can come when we are by ourselves, but also when we are surrounded by people. What's also tricky is that when we are feeling out of sorts, we tend to isolate ourselves even further because we don't feel like others can understand us. We can barely understand ourselves when we're feeling this way, right? So we withdraw even further. And you know, loneliness is actually another type of hunger, isn't it? Hunger isn't just about food. From Cindy again. When we halt and assess our situation, we can describe a hunger for less tangible things, like affection, accomplishment, understanding. This is why having a support system is so important. Those who care for and love you will give you food for your heart and ease the emotional hunger that you are feeling. feeling lonely, and ask yourself if you have reached out to anyone lately. Who can you turn to when you feel depressed, overwhelmed, anxious, or if you just want to talk to someone? Sometimes it even helps just to go out into the world by taking a walk, running errands, or going to a coffee shop. It reminds you that you are part of it all. There is a web. It can catch you. And finally, tiredness. Tiredness takes a toll on our bodies, minds, and spirits. It's easy to ignore how tired we become when our days are so full, when there is no downtime scheduled in. But running low on energy compromises our ability to think and our ability to cope. Taking time to halt is particularly important when we are tired. When we are physically and emotionally tired, we're more likely to engage in negative thinking patterns and negative interactions. A good night's sleep, or even a nap, may be all we need to change our outlook on the day. If a day is particularly hectic, the rest might come in a different form. Listening to music, going outside, or simply taking a deep breath. Maybe it's been a rough couple of days or weeks that requires a more intentional rest. Recharging your body, mind, and spirit will help you to get through tough moments and maintain your sobriety if that's one of your struggles. Brene Brown, who I quoted at the beginning of the sermon, is one of my favorite speakers and authors. She writes books and does TED Talks. She has a podcast. She's kind of an expert on the sacred pause thing. But you know what? Even she struggles with it. And even she has to practice it really intentionally. She says, the past couple of years have been hard, personally and professionally. And I've found that space closing in on itself again. My responses have started sliding too close to the stimuli. I'm tired, and the pause is suffering. I can't let that happen to me or my organization. We need breath and space. So Brene is taking some time off, and she's forcing her staff to take time off too. She's going dark on social media, and she's going to disappear for a while. Not isolating, but caring for herself so that she can wedge her foot back into that space between the S and the R, the stimulus and the response. No one, not even the experts, can be their best selves if they don't practice halting. If they don't pay attention to when they are hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And tend to those things. They seem simple, but they are everything. In a recent sermon, Reverend Nadia Bowles-Weber reimagined Psalm 23. You know the one, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But Nadia changed it up a bit. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down. He restores me. He makes sure I eat even when people are mad at me. The Lord does not hand me a to-go box, but sets a table before me in the midst of my anxieties. It is sacred work, tending to our basic human needs so that we can be better humans, so that we can be there for other humans who also have needs. Dear better angels, this letter is addressed to the people we hope we will be when necessary. We are hoping to make arrangements for an increase in the percentage of goodness and presence of admirable qualities in ourselves, not others. We understand now that it is not an option. Upon reflection, we think we are willing to change a little. We hope that you will consider our request as soon as humanly possible. Sincerely, and amen. By the way, I have found that coloring books and word searches are great tools for taking a pause when the more sacred versions don't feel available. Those of you attending in person today, I have stacks of coloring books and word searches downstairs. Please help yourself on your way out. Those online, let me know if you'd like me to send you one. It has become our practice to pose a question based on the theme of the service each week. It can be a topic of sharing at your dinner table tonight or with friends during the week. If you would like to delve deeper into this topic, please join us for our midweek coffee hour Tuesday at 5 on Zoom. In addition to sharing about the question of the week, we also end with a time of joys and concerns, which is a really lovely ritual. Let us know if you need that link. We hope you can join us. Here is our question for this week. What is a tool that you use to access your better self? What is a tool that you use to access your better self? Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'll end today with Brene Brown's closing words. Stay awkward, brave, and kind. Go in peace.